Hello and welcome to another Times Radio Members Q&A. Today we're answering comments from our channel members on frontline episodes and other videos about the war in Ukraine and its impact on the world stage. I'm Philip Ingram, former Senior Military Intelligence Officer and now commentator and host on Frontline. So our first question, cracking straight on, is from Steve. And he asks what about the peace dividend that Ukraine is giving the United States taxpayer? Ukraine is killing Russians and destroying billions of dollars worth of military hardware, etc. Surely Zelensky should send Donald Trump and the United States a bill for sending Russia back to the 20th century. Steve, really good sentiment. And actually, it's interesting. If you look at the declared threats to the United States, we've got Iran, we've got China, but we've got Russia. And it's been Russia since the end of the Second World War and through the Cold War. And for about between 10 and 15% of the US defense budget, if you look at everything that's going in, then one of the biggest declared enemies to the United States is being decimated and taken off the face of being an enemy. So yes, unfortunately, I don't think Donald Trump's economics work that way, but we never know. Things change on a day-to-day basis. But Steve, good point. Next is from Samuel and says Trump's needlessly hurting European economy is not going to help with its investment in security, is it? It's not, but it's going to do something for European security. We've just seen, and we're recording this on the Thursday after Trump's announcements of the tariffs, 20% tariffs on the EU, so across Europe, on all things going into the United States. That will impact the defence industry, as you've outlined. But what it'll do, I think, is it'll force Europe to expand its own defence industries and its own wider defence industrial base. And we've already seen reports in the press of the Americans suddenly waking up to the fact that by forcing Europe to spend more on defence and then hitting them in the pocket with tariffs, Europe is not going to go and buy US military hardware and US goods. It's going to buy European, and that's going to create a competition for the United States defence industrial base on the international market, a competition that wasn't there beforehand. So again, this is likely to hurt the United States more than anyone else. It's whether Europe can build that defence industrial base up quickly enough to provide that within the economic timeframes, the decision-making timeframes that we're seeing. It takes years to build a defence industrial base up. Donald Trump's only president, unless he can change the constitution, for another 4 years. He's just coming up to his 100th day. But again, Samuel, good point. Nick asks, can Zelensky both oppose and veto this agreement? Well, the simple answer is yes, because it's all about what's going to happen to Ukraine. And Zelensky is the leader of Ukraine. He represents the Ukrainian people. He has to represent Ukrainian interests. And whilst he will give in to Donald Trump as much as he can because he needs US support, certainly in the short term, until Europe's capability can grow to meet the gap, it's not at any cost, I think, from Zelensky's perspective. And that's right and proper. He has to kick back. And Donald Trump, we have to remember, is approaching things from a businessman's perspective. If he goes in for a business deal and says, there's my offer on the table, and the first thing that the person he's doing the deal with says, yep, I'll accept that, then Donald Trump doesn't feel as if he's done a good business deal. So it's important that Zelensky kicks back. And it's important that he kicks back with the support that he's getting from the rest of Europe, the UK, and the wider coalition of the willing around the world, including Australia, Japan, and others. The Dark Elder comes in with the next point. As could be expected, right, you say, Russia agrees to some form of ceasefire, however marginal it may be, for a few hours or days, and then later they break it. You've highlighted standard Russian tactics. It's agree something, but not quite agree it. Suggest that you're going to take the heat off from Donald Trump and suggest you're going to be cooperative, ask for an awful lot more, and then just sit and wait. It's tactics to elongate things and not to make a final decision, because I don't think Putin wants this conflict to end. His whole economy is on a total war footing at the moment. I don't know whether he's got the wherewithal to go back and get into a peacetime economy again until he knows how to reset his relations with the international community. And I think that's virtually at the impossible stage now. I don't think even Donald Trump's support could help Putin do that. But no, a very good point. Next one comes from Kenneth. How about Europe putting some troops and air power to remove Putin from Ukraine? Well, if we'd done that at the beginning, Kenneth, then I think Putin would be pushed back, but I think we would be in a major European conflict, if not World War III. As soon as we start to engage with Russia, as soon as a NATO country comes into the firing line and we are engaging with Russian troops or Russian Air Force, then we have crossed that existential threat to Russia. Russia knows that conventionally it cannot beat NATO. No matter how weak we see individual militaries in different nations, collectively when it comes together, we're not in a position, or Putin's not in a position to beat NATO. And NATO is defensive by nature, so it would take a very strong collective political will to go and put troops on the ground to physically remove Putin. The only time we've come close to threatening that from a NATO perspective, but it required a United Nations Security Council resolution, was when NATO went into Kosovo to try and push the Serbian troops back. That was done by negotiation, but between you and the gatepost, and there was a plan to go in and do that forcibly if necessary. The casualty estimates were huge. I don't think there'd be the political will for the potential casualty estimates that there'd be with NATO troops or European troops engaging directly with the Russians. And we see the different political decision making that there is in the different countries across Europe. France is not in a position to make those sort of decisions. Italy has said it's not going to put troops on the ground. The UK has said it will, but we lack capability. Germany, it has to go through their parliament, the Bundestag. They don't have a government at the moment because there's just been elections. So it's difficult. On paper, interesting point, we'd beat the Russians. However, I think we'd be at war. Joshua Schmude comes in with our final point and says, Trump, have Putin make concessions? Bah, humbug. Well, I think you've summed it up. Donald Trump is working on his first 100 days. He's thinking in very short-term bites of what he's trying to achieve inside what's a short-term presidency when it compares to what Putin's got and how long Putin's been in place. And Trump's top team is some of it's experienced, but none of it's as experienced as Putin and his top team. And Putin's a past master. He approaches things from an old intelligence officer's perspective. Manipulate slowly, tweak here, maneuver there. Trump comes in from a blustering businessman's perspective of bully this, push that, force this, but short term. Will short-termism in an approach win out to a long-term, more gentle, more diplomatic and more manipulative approach, or will the long-term Putin approach beat Trump? Only time will tell, but I think the cards are stacked in Putin controlling what's going on rather than Trump. So thanks for watching this week's question and answers and posting your questions. Remember, if you want to access exclusive videos and have your questions answered, please sign up for Times Radio membership. If you want updates on a daily basis, tune into Times Radio or read thetimes.com. I'm Philip Ingram. Thank you very much.